Hi all, this is Ashish Kyal here. Welcome again to Elliott Wave News channel by wavesstrategy.com, and I am going to talk about a very different indicator that I have been using in order to understand the support zone and the supply zone of the market, not looking at the prices itself but also trying to look at the volume in a very different way, plotted in a very different way. So today I am going to talk about something known as volume profile. You can also call it as a volume at price. Now this is a very interesting study which helps us to understand how much of the volume or open interest is happening at that particular price level. So it's a very different way of looking at the markets. It's very different way to understand what is the support zone, what is the resistance zone, not necessarily looking at the price itself but looking at the levels of the price where the volumes are the highest. Now this is an amazing way of analyzing the market and trying to understand what it is trying to convey to us. So I'm going to talk about volume profile today and how I am using it in order to make a trading decision. I'm also going to talk about how do we combine that along with our own traditional tools like Bollinger Bands, wave theory, and trend lines and channels, the simplistic way of combining those things together, and how it can give us a very high conviction trade setup despite of this volatile movement. We have been seeing a crazy volatility in either direction. Markets are going violently in one side, then again reversing back sharply on the other side. Same thing happened in today's session. Nifty had a gap up opening, it continued to rise towards 11,360 odd levels. From there again reverse back on the downside towards the level of 11,220 I suppose on the downside, then again continue to trade in a range for most part of the day. So the entire range which was formed was during the first 30 minutes or 1 hour, and then it did not do anything. And during this time the stocks that are weak are collapsing, the stocks that are probably strong are still moving sideways. So there's nothing much happening in the broader market. And it's very important to understand, are we in a phase which is an accumulation which is happening here, or it's happening a distribution for the next leg on the downside. If it's an accumulation, what price point is going to confirm us whether we are about to break out from this accumulation until where we are going to head. So I'm going to show you something very different. You might take time to understand the plot itself. It's known as a volume profile. I'm using it on a market profile chart, but I'm going to show a volume profile right now, and I'm going to discuss how this volume profile is helping me in order to understand the key support and resistance levels, and how do I derive the trade using that information and combining it with our traditional technical analysis method. So if you can bear with me and see this screen, this might look like all Latin and Greek to you, but I'm going to explain in a very simplistic way. That is my USP. So I'm going to talk about in a very easy way what we are seeing on the screen. These are all very colorful charts that you are witnessing right now. But do not focus on everything. Just try to understand one simple concept of volume profile that I'm talking about. So over here, the colorful scales along with some numbers mentioned is nothing but this is Nifty futures chart, and what you are seeing on the right side is the numbers mentioned are the numbers of the open interest which are being traded at that particular price point. So this is known as a volume profile. This is not plotted as per the time, this is plotted as per the price, with respect to that price, how much of the volume is happening in that particular range. That provides a very vital information to us. What do we expect, whether this zone is important or it's not important, whether this is happening with on the back of a huge volumes, maybe the smart money is trying to accumulate here or distribute here. We are going to look at those things. So before I look at the current aspect, I want to show you something very interesting that I found when the markets were after the huge rally. So if what you are seeing right now, this was a huge up move on the upside. This is price. Do not try to interpret how the price is plotted here, but this was a huge up move. Post the event on 20th September, we saw a very strong rise on the upside, and this is nothing but the volume profile, which shows that at this price point, how much of the volume or open interest is being traded at this specific price point. So the volume profile takes a shape, and you can clearly see those shape over here. Now very interestingly, these post this huge run up on the upside, if you look at it, the maximum volumes were happening. Let me draw a horizontal line here. The maximum volumes were happening in this specific zone. So the red one, you look at it, is probably normally the highest volume area, but not necessarily. It's a concept of market profile. I don't want to get into that right now. But what you are seeing here is this is the highest volume, this price point. And if you zoom in a bit, you will start seeing the figures as well. So what you are seeing here is the number of contracts being traded. So at this specific price point, you can see a 10 lakh contract approximately being traded, around 16 lakh contract being traded here. Again, this zone 16 lakh contract traded. So what information it gave me was a very vital information that in this zone there has been a huge number of trades that are happening post a very sharp rise that we saw. So this zone became a wall on the upside, which means for prices to continue rallying on the upside, break out above this zone is must. And there was huge volumes on consecutive days, nearly around 20 lakh and 15 lakh at that specific price point is something very substantial. And we saw that happening on the upside near the wall, and post that everyone is aware how we started the correction back on the downside. Now look at those volumes. That is a 20 lakh volume candle over here. There is a 17 lakh volume, there is 10 lakh volume. So in that zone there is huge distribution which happened, and post that we saw a very sharp fall from the levels of 11,600, 620 towards the low of around 11,150 odd levels. Now let me come back to the latest data which I am witnessing right now. A very similar story, but on the opposite side is being repeated here. If you look at this zone on the downside, so what I am trying to do is I have drawn some horizontal lines marking the important volume profile, looking at the important volume profile areas. And what I see that the maximum volume which is happening in this specific zone. So 11,250. If someone is wondering why that level is so important, in today's session also, if you look at it, Nifty futures came down to 11,250 very sharply after going up and then running and coming back on the downside toward this level. Same thing we witnessed. This was the zone, again very important. So we are witnessing a volumes to the extent of not 15 lakh, but we are experiencing volumes to the extent of 8 to 10 lakhs, 11 lakhs, 12 lakhs in this zone which is happening. And this is again a narrow zone where a huge volume has been taking place. So this clearly indicates that this is the zone of 11,250, 240 on the futures, where we are witnessing a lot of volumes happening. So this is exactly opposite to the wall that we saw on the upside. This looks like a floor to me right now, but it's too soon to conclude. The confirmation of it will be obtained once we see a break above this zone and acceptability above this zone. We start seeing volumes above the zone, then it will be an indication now there is a possibility that the accumulation is complete and we are witnessing a move back on the upside. How do we get a breakout? From looking at the volume profile itself, we are able to see that once this zone of 11,350, 380, which is near today's high, is taken out, then the next level where the huge volumes occurred is directly around the zone of 11,550. Now that gives a very vital information that in between 350 to 550 there is a huge gap, and we might see, in case we manage to break out, we might see an accumulation, this as an accumulation sign, and the break on the upside which towards that level. However, it's not going to forecast where we are going to stop, but it gives us a range where we can expect and where is the highest volume. So the next hurdle that Nifty has to look at, if we break out from this range, is the above 11,550 to 600, which acts as a wall where there is numerous price points where the huge volumes took place. So this is how I am looking at it. This software is volume profile along with market profile. Right now I am talking about only the volume profile piece. I am using Ninja Trader, and this indicator is being provided by Bell TPO. In case you would like to know more about this software and indicator, you can always get in touch with me, and I'll be more than happy to direct you to the specific vendor who is providing this kind of a plot. It's an amazing way. However, I'm not going to trade based on looking at volume profile, but I am getting some information here. I'm going to use that information and going to time that information by looking at our own wave theory, looking at Ichimoku cloud, looking at the channels and those things. So I'm going to do and mix all of these things together, not to complicate it, but to get some amount of an understanding what's happening around. What it looks like is there was a huge distribution in the zone of 600, 11,600 happening. Now it looks like some accumulation is happening around the zone of 11,250, provided we do not break below 11,150, because 11,150 is this area which is the last standing line, I suppose. If that breaks, then yes, this zone again becomes like a distribution, but as of now I am not looking at that. Let us try to see if maybe in coming week we are managing to break back about 11,360, 370 odd levels above today's range and sustaining above there, along with the volumes. What is the volumes that are sustaining there? So that's going to be important for me by looking at this chart. Now let me go back on our original chart and try to combine this thing of along with the traditional aspect of what we do. So if you can see my screen, this is an hourly chart of Nifty. You can clearly see Bollinger Bands being applied because markets are moving in sideways range. The bands are now contracting. We can expect an expansion above the upper end of today's move. So that is one important aspect. The red trend line is continuing to be very crucial. Price have tried and tested multiple times, but yet we have not seen a breakout. So that breakout is going to be crucial again for me. And what is going to be important is we saw a very huge move on upside in the form of wave A. We are moving in the form of wave B. That is what I am looking at it. It's not confirming whether we are completing wave B now and starting C or not, but I think it has consumed the required number of time. It has retraced nearly 61.8% of the rise, and the breakout above this might start the trend on the upside. The first level to watch as per volume profile is the zone of around 11,550, which is around this area, which makes sense on this chart as well. And the breakout as per this analysis is also coming above the zone of today's high and near around 360, 370 odd levels, and then we can expect a rush towards the upside because there is no such speed breakers in middle that I am looking at it. And if it is a C wave starting on the upside, we should see an impulsive rise. That's what I think. So given that this specific chart, the Bollinger Bands confirm, time cycle is working amazingly well. I have published it in the monthly research report, and in fact in the latest monthly research I mentioned how we expected that 11,530 should hold on and price will probably reverse on the upside provided specific levels are taken out and 10,530 hold on, and that happened on 20th September. It worked brilliantly. So get access to that monthly research. You will be amazed to see how amazingly it worked, and prices did move on the upside towards the zone of 11,550, 600, which we were expecting a gain of 500 points, maybe due to the event, maybe execution was an issue, but the research was perfectly in sync. Provided it was due to event or even if there was no event, this was bound to happen. It looks like that looking at that chart, which was published 2 weeks prior to the event when Nifty was just consolidating. So over here what I am trying to do is I am combining something very different along with the volume profile. I am combining the wave theory and trying to see if it is making sense or not, and I am sure if you are able to do that, you are going to get a very high conviction because your volume profile suggests a breakout and then your price patterns with neo wave suggest a breakout. So that is a very strong confirmation from two different aspects of study, and that is how I am trading in this current volatile market. So I hope this is going to help you to understand this entire concept, and I'm going to talk about more about volume profiles, how I'm combining with neo wave analysis in my upcoming training on 30th November and 1st of December, and I'm going to conduct it in Delhi. There has been an amazing response that we have been receiving, and I'm sure you might be keen on seeing these kind of studies being combined all together. The other question I get is there are too many important studies in 2 days of time. Are we going to be able to grasp it? Before the training itself, I'm going to share across 6 hours of training videos on Elliott wave. I'm going to keep conducting such webinars. You will be able to access these webinars and understand what it means what I'm going to cover and how I'm going to go about it. You are going to have a prior knowledge. You will get access if you register before 25th October. You get access to the training research, the entire research piece that we are publishing, and that is going to make you to the level which is required before the training itself. So it does not matter whether you are an expert trader already or you are just starting to learn. I'll ensure you get what you are looking forward to, and these are amazing tools that I am looking at, and it's working brilliantly well in this market. Based on similar method, we generated Nifty call today, and within 5 minutes it moved up by 50 points. This was again based on the volume profile that I use, and it worked amazingly well. So these are the things that we are looking at combining. We always I especially always thrive to learning new things, applying it, seeing how it can be simplified and conveyed across. So that's what I do, and I hope this webinar helped you in understanding some insight into volume profile and combining with wave theory. That's it from my side. For registering for the upcoming training, you can visit wavestrategy.com. You will get all the information on the website. You can contact us on 999204 22202, and my team will be more than happy to advise on any queries, doubts you might have. Participate in the traders forum, the Ichimoku cloud. It's amazing participation, and what prices are doing, how to trade using Ichimoku cloud. We are discussing that. It's on the traders forum on the website, again wavestrategy.com. That's it from my side. Have a wonderful weekend. See you again same time next week, and I hope you start using the software. For any queries on the software or data feed, you can always get in touch with me again on 99204 22202. Thanks a lot.